sitting here with Treyten Lapcevich, who it has been a little bit since we've talked to him, and I know it was for sure at CTMP in the media center after that deal. And then now we're sitting with you after another race one. Congrats on that one, buddy.
Thank you.
What is it like to get ready for such a trip? That's a bit of a jaunt, I guess you could say. I think I've kind of made a trek that far. That's not an easy trek. What are some of the things that go behind getting ready for that, and as well as, maybe some stories and what it was like on the way to Newfoundland?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I had it the easy way, if anything, just flying out on Friday morning. It's the truck drivers that, are the ones that are taking most of the work, driving all the way out to Newfoundland, and then also taking the ferry too. So it's a lot of logistics that goes into that. It's obviously not cheap as well to organize everything like that. But like I said, yeah, for myself, I flew out of Toronto on Friday morning. We had a bit of delay. That was the only thing that went wrong on my end. We were delayed like 2 or 3 hours, something like that. So we ended up being in the airport for 5 hours Friday morning.
In Pearson too.
Which was inconvenient at the very least, but we ended up making there all right. Luckily, the weather was really good. I know it can be spotty this time of year in Newfoundland. I think they were saying it's been rainy and cold, but luckily it was, the weather was really good on race day. It was in the higher 20s. Sun was out, and it was pretty much good the whole time we were there. So it all went really smooth.
Yeah, it looked beautiful out there. Quite a change from, I think, last year.
Yeah, last year was a mess.
Yeah, which was awesome. And the welcome that you guys get, the parade,
that was crazy.
I mean, everything. It's so awesome, and I kind of wish we did a little more of that here sometimes. But you know what? I'm happy to see that it's happened, and maybe makes the trip out there worth it.
It was cool. I mean, it's cool to see how passionate the Newfoundland fans were about us going there. So it was nice. The track was had a really good showing as well on Saturday. I know at the autograph session, the lineup was longer than we were able to get through in the time frame that we were given. So that doesn't happen very often. Usually we're left with a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But no, there was a good turnout, and the thing on Friday night was really cool as well, with the parade, and then having us up on stage there. I refused to get screeched in on the Friday night, but I ended up doing it Saturday. I will say
nice.
That. So
that's a good way to celebrate, I guess.
Exactly. That's kind of what I said I would do it if I won. So, after we won, I had to stick to my word.
Can we get into a little bit nuance of what the race was, and then I'll let Jordan finish up with like championship stuff and all that. That track is quite unique. Nothing similar around here that I can relate it to. Maybe the downhill a little bit from Delaware, but that track is quite unique because it is up and then down, and it seems that the Jersey barriers are quite close to the inside of the turns. What does a track like that take for you guys to set up and get right, or what do you guys need to do to get a car ready for that place?
The track is really unique just mainly because the corners are so different from each other. The two corners, they're not really similar at all, so it's hard to tune a car that can get through both corners good, given they are so different. But we really struggled, honestly. Like we took a package there that was similar to last year, and we ran good last year, I would say. I think we had a top 3 car last year for sure, if not a car that could compete for the win if some things went our way. Right. But this year we noticed that the track was just completely different. I don't know if that had something to do with the weather leading up. Like we said, it was a lot warmer this time around. Last year we had the rain and cold and all that, so there was probably a lot more grip in the track. But this time around, the track was just so greasy. We really spent all practice adjusting. Like every time we went out, we made adjustments. We went bigger and bigger, and finally by the end of practice, we had the car about neutral, what we thought. But we practiced so early in the day. We practiced at 10:45, and it was still relatively cooler.
Wow.
But as it got warmer for qualifying, I went out there for qualifying, and I was in like a 4-wheel slide all the way through the corners. So
Jeez.
the track definitely changed a lot throughout the day when the sun came out and it got hotter.
Really? Oh, interesting. Okay, well, let's talk about qualifying quickly. You guys separated the top 5 by .078. So, I mean, I don't even know how that happens because you guys, that's so close. It's just, I mean, the wind might have slowed you down a little bit or something. I don't know. It's just so close. So, obviously, everything's tight. Notice in the race that you started to slide back just a little bit. I don't know if you regained those positions. I can't remember when you came into the pits at the halfway break, but obviously you went to doing some major adjustments. What were some things that you worked on to get the car into a position that was drivable? Was it like a quick fix, or was it like a fix of, I think this is where we're going, so let's fix it for there?
Well, like you said, we slipped back to, I think it was 9th or so. And at that time, we had a long green flag run at some point, and at that time, 9th was almost. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a tail of the lead lap cars, but we were like, I mean, there's probably 15 cars on lead lap or so. So before the break, we had a caution before the break. We actually pitted. We pitted once, and we ended up just driving right through because we had a miscommunication, and we ended up pulling into the box incorrectly. So we had to go right through unless we were going to lose a lap. We wouldn't have time to do what we were going to do. So we ended up going through, and then we didn't get time to come back down pit road because we went green right away. So then we come back down the next caution, and luckily we got a quick caution out of it. We made some adjustments. We wanted to start adjusting before halfway because we weren't going to be giving up that much track position, and if we did that, we could see we could tell if the direction we were going was working, or if we need to swing harder. So that's really what it boiled down to. Was we realized after those adjustments that we still hadn't gone quite enough. We were still lucky to be. I mean, I think we finished the halfway mark at about 7th, so we marched forward considerably, given that it went all green after our pit stop there. But we knew it still wasn't quite enough. So at the halfway break, we went even bigger. We changed the spring, and that's not generally something that you would do on pit road. Yeah. You would usually be on scales and make sure your ride heights are right and your cross weight, all that's correct. But that's really just a hats off to the 22 Racing guys. They're so prepared when we go to the track that we know that we can change a spring and the difference of turns that we're going to put on the load bolts and stuff like that. It's all, they have that all figured out before we even get there, so it's really nice.
Sidebar just on that, who made the call to change a spring? Was that your dad?
I think it was my dad and Scott together. I think they were kind of brainstorming what we were going to do. We had made a spring change in the same corner in practice too, so we were already down considerably than what we came with. And then in the race, we decided that's what we saw the biggest change with in practice. So we figured we could probably take even bigger swing in the race.
Well, it definitely made a difference because you came charging through the field, not without work and hard fighting. And I have to really say that I commend you on your composure and your you're just patient. And it's definitely rare to see, I would say. I think we got a good showing of it this past weekend in SVG. He didn't touch them to win, right? But you're just very patient. You don't see that in a younger driver. And it was really fun to watch you charge through the field. Can you just talk about what was on your mindset and where you're at when you come up to a car that maybe you have history with, the 96 or even Andrew or somebody else who's trying to run hard or get positions, Brandon, what's on your mind to get through that field and just stay focused to what you have to do?
Well, you know what? I think, for the most part, thinking about it now after you bring that up, I don't want to jinx anything, but the series on that Eastbound race, it was, everyone paid a lot of respect to each other. I think for the most part, there wasn't a lot of pushing around. There wasn't a lot of bumping out of the way. I made all my passes without touching anyone, and everyone was giving me the lane too, which is, sometimes people try and pinch you off, and then that's what leads to contact. Right. And then some people think that they're in the right of way when they're when they're not. So then it leads to further contact. But no, I don't know. I think going on to the patience thing, I think a lot of it just comes from after winning a few of them, you kind of just figure that you may not need to be at the front right away when we are running these 250 or 300 lap races. It's nice to have a good car and lead every lap, but there's nothing worth being frustrated about, because then you're just not going to get your car to where it needs to be. For us, we were patient. We knew that we would have the opportunity to make adjustments at the halfway, and we took advantage of it as well as we could.
When we spoke earlier this year, I asked you where you thought you fit in the series, right? You weren't a rookie, you weren't a sophomore, but where did you fit? You sound like a veteran to me, and that's awesome. Congratulations on the win. I'm gonna let Jordan finish us up here.
Yeah, good point there, Wallace. And also, with you getting P2 there last year and then getting the win there this year, that must feel really good. And maybe what does happen at Toronto does affect the other question, because last year we saw you get a P10 in Toronto, and that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was a race that for a couple of drivers it kind of helped decide things a bit for what it was like going down the road with their championship run. Going on to Toronto, what's it looking like for you guys? And you certainly have a grasp on the championship, and just wondering what your insights are now that we're nearly halfway through the season and only a couple months left. So what are your thoughts on that one too?
Well, I think for Toronto, we definitely struggled a bit there last year. I think a lot of that was myself. Toronto's a difficult course, and it's also, the schedule makes it even harder, really. We have a 45-minute session, I think it is, and that's practice and qualifying combined. So it's not even like you get out of the car and you get to debrief after practice and pick up for qualifying. And for that track, qualifying is important because it's not an easy place to pass at. That track position, having that track position can be a big deciding factor. We don't have many, if I'm not mistaken, we didn't have many full course cautions. Maybe a couple. It's a sprint race. So you need that track position. But I think, going into this year, I'm definitely a little more prepared. I have quite a bit more road course racing experience. You kind of get to debrief on what happened last year and try and figure out where I can find that missing speed this year. So that's really what we're going to be doing. You mentioned P10 last year. It's definitely something that we'd like to improve on. But at the end of the day, if we can go and run P10 at Toronto, I don't think we would hang our heads, just because Toronto, with the road courses, we have such bigger fields that finishing in the top 10 is way better than a DNF or whatnot for the points. So really, if we can just have a good points day, a good top 10, top 5. Obviously, I want to compete for a win, for sure. But if we can just keep all the fenders on the car, make it to the end of the race, and come out of Toronto still with a good. We got a bit of a cushion right now, and if we come out of Toronto still if that cushion dwindles a little bit, then it is what it is. We're headed into 3 ovals in a row, so it definitely, it's all right if we don't go out and win Toronto, and that's kind of what our mindset is going into it.
Okay,
but obviously we're going to do our best to try and grab another one.
Yeah, you do. As you speak of a cushion, you're 23 points ahead of Kevin Lacroix and 32 points ahead of Alex Gannett, while he's basically tied with Mac. So yeah, you got some guys behind you looking to make some ground, and they might get busy dealing with one another. You might be able to benefit on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Toronto is largely a race of attrition, I would say.
Right.
There's a lot of guys that struggle there. Last year, I think, I don't even know if we were a top 10 car last year, to be honest with you, but there was a lot of cars in front of me that had issues, and I was able to pick off positions here and there. So that's going to be the big thing, is just keeping the car in one piece and kind of minding my own. Those guys, they're all going to be super competitive at Toronto. There's no doubt about it. And talking about Mark and Kevin, and then someone who's even not really at the top of the point standings, like Ranger, he's going to be a big threat at Toronto as well. So I think a lot could go down between them. But we're really just focused on ourselves and putting ourselves in a good position heading into the Western swing.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'll be looking forward to hearing from you when you go out west. Hopefully we'll be able to get another few minutes out of you here on the WOMs.
Absolutely.
Well, we'll let you go here, and we'll let you.
Thanks,
I'm sure you're celebrating that win still, so we're gonna let you go do that. And thanks, man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
See you around.
Thank you very much.